98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And good morning from Adrian Kennedy. How are you this morning? It is Tuesday, November 17th, 2020, and we're here until midday today. Now, I have a lot of stuff to get through a little bit later on in the programme. For example, I want to follow up on a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago and find out from you where your head is at with regard to family members coming home for Christmas from abroad. We spoke to a number of people a couple of weeks ago who said, I'm coming home regardless. I'm wondering, has that changed a little bit since then? Anyway, we'll talk about that later on. But before that, this morning, we came across something very bizarre, it has to be said. A lingerie brand called Pour Moi have launched a range of pillow sprays that apparently smell like some of the world's sexiest celebrities. So the brand is selling scents of Harry Styles, Margot Robbie, Zac Efron, Rihanna, Jennifer Aniston, Bradley Cooper. Now, I don't know if I'll be running out to buy any of them. Like Harry Styles, is that like armpit odour? Or is it the cologne he wears? Anyway, I won't be running out to buy any of them anytime soon. But it got us thinking in the office earlier on. What smells we would like to bottle if we could? So, imagine, you know those smelly candly things that melt, and you put a little tea tree candle underneath and it melts the thing and there's aroma out of it. You know those yolks, yeah. Well, if you could make one of them that had a particular smell that would... the aroma would spread around your sitting room and you could basically bottle it. What would that smell be? And it got us thinking in the office earlier on about what smell is that one smell that you just go, oh, that is gorgeous. For me, it's a bizarre smell. For me, it is the smell of a dry cleaners. And it's obviously the chemicals or whatever it is that they use in a dry cleaners. And that smell of a dry cleaners, ever since I was a young fella, is just, oh, that smell. And if I'm walking past a dry cleaner, now not a laundrette now, it has to be a place that actually does the dry cleaning. If I'm walking past a place that is a dry cleaners, I'd often stick my head in the nose just to get a whiff of it. I'm a little bit weird like that. So I want you to send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98 and tell me, what is that one smell that if you could bottle it, or if you could have a smelly candle melt thing replicate this smell, what would that smell be? For me, as I said, I don't know how my sitting room would smell if it smelled like a laundrette, but that smell to me is just... And we asked around the office earlier on, for example, Aoife on our team loves the smell, and I actually like this myself, the smell of a blown out candle. Okay, so you know you're going to bed and you're blowing out your candles. Yep. And then kind of smoke comes off the wick of the candle. That smell. It's the after the candle smell. And for Aoife, that's the one smell she just loves. Our Jeremy said he would bottle the smell of fresh cut grass. Now, I do love the smell of fresh cut grass, but it always reminds me of having to cut the bloody grass. But I do like the smell of it. So what is that one smell that if you could bottle it, you would? Send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98, and they're flying in already. Sarah sent me this, and I can relate it. We can all relate to this, I'm sure.
Oh, I'd love to bottle the smell of a new baby. They just smell so nice and gorgeous.
Oh, they do. Just the smell of holding a new baby, and it's a mixture of talcum powder and vomit and everything. And it's all mixed together into that lovely smell of a baby. Oh, yeah. And in fact, Alison, it's along that lines. The smell that you would bottle if you could is?
Baby powder. Definitely baby powder.
Oh, yeah.
A baby lotion.
And I think that's that baby smell, isn't it?
Definitely, yes, definitely.
Because babies have this particular aroma of them, and all babies have it. All babies have that same smell. And I can't even put my finger on what that smell is, but I think it probably is the baby powder that gives them that just,
It's lovely, yeah.
Yeah, you could eat it, couldn't you? It's just that nice.
It's the smell of purity. It's lovely.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yes. So it's definitely the baby powder or that smell off a little baby. And sometimes it's, like I said, all sorts of things mixed in, but they just have this unique smell.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we definitely bottled that. Thank you, Alison. 0877 98 98 98. If you could bottle a smell, what would that smell be? A lot of people saying baby powder. Yep, a lot of people. Hi, Adrian. The best smell is fresh baked bread or bakery products. Oh, yeah. It's lovely. Yeah. Lauren, good morning. Morning, Lauren.
Hello?
Hi, Lauren.
How are you?
Good. Now, Lauren, what is that one smell that you'd bottle if you could?
Fresh tar coming out of the truck.
Oh, yeah.
My dad is a groundworks contractor, and the minute I smell that, I used to think about going to work with my dad when I was a kid, from the age of 7, and it just brings back nothing but brilliant memories.
Oh, isn't that amazing? Isn't that?
Oh my God, yeah.
And isn't it amazing, actually, that a smell can bring you back somewhere?
Oh my God, it just transports me back to being 7 all the way up to about 15, just going to work with my dad on a Saturday, and that's what he did all the time, and that smell just brings it just is the best feeling ever.
It is lovely. And it's amazing, and literally smells can transport you to another time in your life, can't they? Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They can transport you to another time in your life, literally.
Yeah, they absolutely can.
And I'll give you an example, and it's not necessarily a good memory, yeah? When I was a young fella, I think I've told this story before, when I was a young fella, a load of us went on a booze cruise to Holyhead. Remember you used to do that? You go over to Holyhead for the day on the boat and you'd buy all your duty free and drink it going over and drink it coming back. But anyway, on this particular occasion, we bought a bottle of gin and drank the gin going over and drank the gin coming back. And on the way back, I was sick as a dog over the side of the ship, okay? So much so that when I smell gin, I am literally back on that ship again. It's bizarre. Yeah. And to the point I can't smell gin. I can't go near gin. It's vile. Just the smell of it. And I'm back on that ship puking over the side of it. So.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Great to talk to you, Lauren. Thanks very much indeed. They're flying in. In fact, Ken is on about the smell of tar as well.
The smell I would love to bottle is, that smell when they're re-tarring the surface of the roads? And you get that smell of tar. Always loved it as a kid. Still do. Yeah,
I do myself, Ken. There's a road just around the corner from us here at the office, and they were re-tarring it last week. The smell just wafted up to this building, and it is a nice smell. Mick!
Good morning, lads. It's Mick. If I could bottle any smell, it'd have to be the smell of a fresh Christmas pudding cooking. Thanks, lads.
Oh, nice smell, Mick. I like it. Mark?
Come on. It has to be fresh cut grass with a 2-stroke lawnmower.
The 2-stroke lawnmower? Oh, that's very specific. Yes, I do like. I think lots of us like the smell of fresh cut grass, especially the first cut of the year in spring, or maybe the second cut of the year. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's lovely. Gemma, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Gemma?
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Gemma, what is that one smell that just does it for you?
Do you know when you're putting petrol into the car and you can smell the petrol and the diesel?
Well, I drive a diesel car now, and I have done for the last couple of years, yeah? And I miss the smell of petrol because the smell of diesel is rotten. Diesel hasn't got a nice smell to it, but petrol does have a nicer smell.
Yeah, it's just I could sit there all day.
Yeah, it is. It's a lovely aroma. And the only time I ever really get to smell petrol is if I bring a little billy can down to the garage for my lawnmower and fill it up. Because without the petrol going into the car, I don't really get to smell it very often now. So I kind of miss the smell of this. But it's one of those smells. It's lovely. Thanks, Gemma. Let's have a listen to this from James.
Morning, Adrian. James here. The one thing that would really get my juices flowing is the smell of freshly baked bread in a can. Thank you.
In a can? Oh, to be able to spray it out into the air. Bob.
The smell of the ink on a newspaper when the sun is after being baking on it for a while. Unbelievable.
That's very specific, Bob. The smell of ink on a newspaper when the sun has been beaten down on it. It's a little bit random, but it's a good one. I like it. Patricia.
Hello?
Patricia, what is that one smell that you'd bottle if you could?
The smell of the stuffed turkey cooking on Christmas morning. It's something very comforting about it.
And it's something very unique. It's a smell like you can have roast turkey in the middle of the year and it just doesn't smell the same as the roast turkey with the stuffing inside it.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be right in the turkey.
Yeah, because you're cooking the turkey and you open the door, just have a quick whiff of it and close the door again. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to die for.
Oh, you have me. Thank you, Patricia. Lorraine.
Lorraine here. I love the smell of new school books. Oh, gorgeous.
And that is a unique smell. It's not the smell of new books. It's the smell of new school books. They definitely have a smell of their own. Margaret.
Hi, Adrian. Margaret here. I absolutely love the smell of new books, brand new books, brand new paper. If you open them up and just take a big sniff of them, it's just the most amazing smell ever.
But there's a different smell, Margaret. I don't know if you agree with this. There's a different smell of new school books. It always reminds me of being a child and my mammy would bring home all the new school books. They had a unique smell of them. Different to just ordinary books. Jules, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jules?
I'm fine, Adrian. How are you?
Jules, I have to admit, I love this smell as well. Tell me what it is.
Yeah, I have a couple. One of them is what other people have said is freshly baked bread.
Oh, it's lovely.
But the other one is when it's finished raining.
Yeah.
And you step outside and just the smell in the air. When it's finished raining, I just love that smell.
Yeah, when it stopped raining and it's kind of it's like the water is starting to evaporate off the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that smell
coming up and everything, and it's just that smell, and it's just like I love that smell.
And there is no other smell like it. It's a bizarre sort of smell.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just one of my favourite smells. And we might get a 2-minute breather from the rain.
Yeah.
And we can just step outside for a few seconds. And it's just when it's just, when you've got a clear break for a few minutes. And
it's that smell. I know exactly the smell you're talking about, and there's something about it I can't even. And you won't smell that smell in any other circumstance except when it stopped raining and it starts evaporating. Oh yeah,
exactly. It's just one of my favourite smells. It's just so nice and just kind of comforting as well. Yeah,
I'm with you. Well done. Thanks very much indeed, Josh.
I would bottle the smell of blue cheese. If you know, you know.
Oh, Josh, if you know, you know. The smell of blue cheese. No. Anne.
Hi, Adrian. Anne here. I would bottle the smell of jam donuts cooking. I walk around Finglas and I pass Johnston Mooney's bakery every day, and the smell of the donuts coming out keeps me going until I get past. It's just gorgeous. I bottle it.
Actually, Anne, I just love the smell out of Johnston Mooney's, full stop. There's a lovely waft comes out of that place in Finglas, honestly. And I've smelt it regularly passing by. It's lovely. Where am I going now? Karen, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Karen?
Hi, how are you?
Karen, what is that one smell you'd bottle if you could?
I just want to say first, I wash my bed sheets regularly.
Okay. Right, okay. And there's a reason you're saying this.
I love the smell of a pillow that's been well slept on.
You love
your head into it, and it's just that comforting, sleepy smell.
So I'm curious now, and I hear you saying you wash your bed sheets regularly, but is it the smell of a pillow that you've slept on?
Yeah, not just random. No, my own pillow.
Your own pillow with your own smell.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
So it's not a randomer's smell. You wouldn't.
No. It's not random.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking
like one of my kids' pillows.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, a lot of our when we're sleeping on a pillow, you sweat on the pillow, and it's really. But it's the smell of your pillow.
It's just that comfort, sleepy smell, and you get into bed exhausted, and you bury your face into the pillow, and it's just that comforting, sleepy.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm with you.
I don't know that I'd go around spraying it around the house now, but it's just that comforting smell.
The smell of a slept-on pillow. That's bizarre, but okay, I'll go with it. Thanks, Karen. Somebody else just texted in. We were talking about Johnston, Mooney and O'Brien and the smell that wafts out of that place. You go around the corner and you will find the Manhattan Peanuts factory. And the smell out of that as well. In fact, just walk around Finglas and you get lovely smells. Come here, we'll have a few more I want to play for you after the break. Ray will take your call, and Baz, and a couple more when we are back in just a moment.
The sound of the city, from Lucan to Lusk. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
There it is. There's that smell. No, actually, there's no laundrette smell in here. Louise.
Oh, I love the smell of bonfire, Halloween, and fireworks and bangers. I know I'm a weirdo. Yeah. This is Louise from Blanche.
Thanks, Louise from Blanche. And Dave. Oh, this is very specific.
Adrian, Dave here. The smell of a Chinese after a 5k run. God, it's lovely. Sure, man.
That's very specific. The smell of a Chinese after a 5k run. Surely that defeats the whole purpose of the 5k run in the first place, Dave, no? Ray, what is that one smell you'd love to bottle?
Smell of burning tires.
Burning rubber.
I know that.
The smell of burning rubber, basically.
Yeah.
It's a very unique smell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's massive. It really is. I love that smell myself. Thanks, Ray. Baz. Oh, this is interesting. We were talking about babies earlier on, and we were talking about baby powder. But you have a smell that you love.
Hello, Adrian. I have Salvulon cream. Absolutely love it. Every time I cut my finger or anything, straight on, plaster on, and I'm sniffing it all day.
Oh, yeah. It is lovely, actually. It is a lovely smell. Yeah. And it's a clean smell, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I even pass it on to my daughter. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and she's the same. She loves it.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I like the smell of Savlon, but you know what I used to hate? And you don't notice it as much now as you used to. I used to hate the smell. Even though it was very clean, it was a very clean smell, the smell in the hospital. I used to hate. You don't notice it as much nowadays, but certainly years ago, oh my God, I used to hate the smell of a hospital. But Savlon cream, I can go with that. Thanks very much indeed. Dwayne.
How are you, Adrian? The smell of a fry on a Saturday morning after having a few beers on the Friday night. Can't beat it.
You can't, Dwayne. I love me Saturday morning fry. I really do. Ashley.
Hi, Adrian. I'm probably one of the only ones that's going to say this, but I actually love the smell. You know, when they're burning the hops at Guinness's, it's close to my nanny's house, so it kind of just reminds me of kind of home and being around where my nanny lives.
Actually, it's a smell that divides the city. For every person who loves the smell of the hops from Guinness's, there's another person who hates it. I haven't smelt it for a long time. I know it still wafts in the air, but I haven't smelt it for a long time. It's a very pungent smell. But some people just love it. Others, nah, not so much. Okay, couple more very quickly. James, you're on 98 FM. How are you, James?
Adrian, how are you?
James, what is that one smell?
The old carbolic soap.
Is that the red stuff?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what that smells like.
It's like a Dettol.
It is, that's what it is. Yes. It's a Dettol-y sort of smell.
Yeah.
And it is a very clean smell, and in fact, a lot of people have been using carbolic soap over the last couple of months with us having to wash our hands. Apparently it's brilliant for...
Well, never done any of us any harm.
Yeah, apparently it's brilliant for really cleaning your hands well. And I know a couple of people who've been using it since last March. So, yeah, get the carbolic soap out and it smells massive. Thank you, James. Couple more. Dennis sent me this. He says, Adrian will know exactly what I mean.
the smell of the Spanish air when you get off an airplane in Spain during the summer. It's just a completely different smell to Ireland, and I don't know how, and I don't know why. Yeah, it's unreal.
And you're dead right. There is that smell. I don't know if it's the smell of the warmer air or what it is, but there is definitely a smell when you get off the plane in Spain. And yeah, I can't put my finger on what it is either. Maybe it's this.
Hi, Adrian. For me, it would be jet fuel. Oh my God, it just transports me back to my hollybops. Nice talking to you. Bye.
It does. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I was plane spotting with my dog Molly at Dublin Airport, and a Ryanair plane drove past us, and the smell. There is something about it. And when you're walking out to a Ryanair plane, so you're going out on the apron at the airport, you can smell it everywhere. Yeah, it's jet fuel, definitely. Robbie.
Morning, Adrian. If I could bottle one smell, it would be the smell of my daughter's blanket that she has since she is a baby, and she's now almost 10. I don't know why, but the smell of the blanket just always reminds me of her.
Ah, isn't that lovely? Thanks, Rob. Oh, this is a bit weird. I'd bottle up my nanny's smell. Every nanny has a smell, don't they? Says Sandra. Do they? What? Your nanny has a unique smell? Okay, yeah, all right. Gar sent me this. Oh, no, nobody's going to agree with this, Gar.
How are you, Adrian? You can't beat the smell of when you used to be able to walk into the bar on a Sunday afternoon and just get the whiff of all the Guinness farts. You know you are going for a few pints.
No, said nobody ever, Gar. And one last one. And this kind of comes back, I think this is related to the petrol conversation we had earlier on. This is Lisa.
At the box, any smell, it would be the smell of fire lighters. When you open that box and get the first whiff, it nearly goes down your throat.
Oh, yeah, okay. Lisa, I'm with you on that as well. They were brilliant. It just shows you, every one of us has that smell that's kind of unique to us in what we like. Anyway, they were brilliant. Thanks very much indeed. This is 98 FM.
The sound of the city, from Sallynoggin to Swords. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
I have a voucher for €150 to give away right this very second, with thanks to SuperValu here at 98 FM. All this week we have thousands of euro to be won to spend on SuperValu online shopping. So earlier on today, Rebecca and Brendan on 98 FM's Big Breakfast ordered something online. And I want you to send me a message right now with the word SuperValu and the item that Rebecca and Brendan bought online this morning. What was it? If you were listening earlier on, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So earlier on today, Rebecca and Brendan ordered something online, but what was it? What did they order? Huh? If you know the answer, send the word SuperValu, followed by your answer and your name, to 0877 98 98 98. I have a €150 voucher to give away right this very second from SuperValu to do some online shopping. And we're all doing it. At least shopping online with SuperValu, you know you're buying with an Irish company. So once again, send the word SuperValu followed by the item or items that Rebecca and Brendan ordered online this morning from supervalu.ie. Send it to me right now, very quickly. So SuperValu followed by your name and the answer to 0877 98 98 98. So, do we have a winner? A €150 voucher for SuperValu. Let's go to Furhouse. Susan, good morning.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm very good, Susan. How are you?
Good, good.
Now, Susan, earlier on this morning, Rebecca and Brendan on 98 FM's Big Breakfast ordered something online. What did they order?
Potatoes.
Potatoes?
Potatoes.
Did they indeed? Is potatoes the right answer? Is that what they ordered online from supervalue.ie?
Merry Christmas!
Yes, it is.
Lovely.
Just for you, Susan, to help you do a bit of Christmas shopping online at supervalue.ie. I have a €150 voucher from SuperValue to give to you, so congratulations.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
And we'll be in touch with you straight after the programme to arrange all the details.
Lovely. Thank you.
All
so
right,
much.
well done. Thanks very much
you.
indeed. That is Susan in Fairhouse, the winner of €150 from supervalue.ie. And there's more. Later on today, 98FM's Barry Dunn is going to give away more SuperValue vouchers. And he is going to ask you what I ordered online. So let me begin and order something online at supervalue.ie right now. Here we go. So I'm ordering, okay, and it is CHEESEVOARD. Okay, selection. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Jeez, that's the noisiest keyboard ever. I have just ordered on supervalue.ie a cheese board selection. Okay, a cheese board selection. Write that down, and later on today, Barry Dunn will have another SuperValue voucher to give away if you can just remember what I just ordered. Okay, so later on, Barry will say, what did Adrian order online? And you will message, when he says it, cheese board selection. Now, I'm not ordering it for myself because I'm not mad about cheese, but my missus loves it. So a cheese board selection I've just ordered for her. And Barry will be asking you that a little bit later on. And when he asks you, just send the word SuperValue followed by cheese board selection to 0877 98 98 98. And don't worry, we have a lot more to give away later on during the week right here at 98FM. And thank you very much indeed to SuperValue for that.
The sound of the city from Lucan to Lusk. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
A couple of weeks back, we asked you where your head was at with regard to Christmas 2020, and in particular with family and friends, and whether or not they are planning to come home over the Christmas period. Now, you may recall the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and indeed the Chief Medical Officer said now is not the time to book flights to come home. But I want to find out from you, what is your plan? If you're listening to us abroad, if you're living abroad, are you planning to come home for Christmas? Or do you think that people should just leave it for this year unless there's extreme reasons for having to come home for Christmas? The worry obviously is that we here in Ireland, we're doing okay. We haven't beaten the thing yet, but the figures are slowly coming down. But we're definitely ahead of the curve compared to the rest of Europe with regard to COVID-19. So we're doing okay. The worry is, if tens of thousands of people were to come into Ireland through Dublin Airport for the Christmas period, they may well bring a gift that none of us wants. So I want to find out from you where you're at with regard to Christmas 2020, if you're planning to come home, even though the advice seems to be, please don't come home this Christmas. Are you going to ignore that? Are you going to come home anyway? Is your son or your daughter going to come home anyway? Or have you decided, no, let's leave it for this year. Let's not come home to Ireland, or let's not go home to Ireland. I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. We'll take a quick break and we're back in just a moment.
The sound of the city from Donamead to Drimna. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
The 17th of November 2020, and normally at this time we're not really talking about Christmas. We tend to kind of push it off until we get to December, but this year is very different. This year is a completely different vibe, obviously, and I want to find out what is your plan, or more importantly the plan of family members with regard to coming home to Ireland for Christmas 2020. Tens of thousands of people under normal circumstances would fly to the country from all around the world. But if you asked your family members not to come home, have they decided not to come home, or are they coming home regardless? Call me right now on 6797 981. I'm joined on the line by Sinn Féin President Mary Lou MacDonald, who has spoken a little bit. Mary Lou, good morning and welcome to the show. You've spoken a fair bit over the last couple of weeks about looking for clear guidance from the government on the advice to come home or not to come home.
Well, Adrian, I'm well aware that we've had a very hard year, and Christmas is a very special time. All of us, all of our families gather and people travel home, and this year will be different. Just to say to Adrian that we have said to the government for a very long time that they need to get their act together in terms of protections and controls for people coming onto the island. I mean, there's been very little done by way of proper quarantine, testing for people coming onto the island, and that has been a long-running mistake. So unfortunately, as we face into Christmas, we have that as one factor. We secondly have a situation where in many of the places where our family members live, in England, for example, the rates of transmission of this virus are very, very high. And so, therefore, there is a genuine and a real concern and a real danger that with masses and masses of people coming home, that we could see a huge spike in transmission in the virus and all of the sickness, the misery, and potentially the loss of life that can bring. So what I think is going to happen, and I don't have a crystal ball, so I need to be clear, this is still weeks away, and the final call can only be made closer to the time. I suspect that there will be advice for people not to travel. What I hope, Adrian, is that at a minimum is that there will be a degree of decency and common sense applied. So there has to be compassion applied. So, for example, if you live away and you have very elderly parents, if you live away and there's significant sickness in the family, if you live away and there has been a bereavement, if you've lost somebody during the year and maybe you weren't in a position to come home for the funeral because of the virus. I mean, circumstances like that, I think at Christmas time, people have to be able to come home on the grounds of compassion. And I think the advice and the system has to make allowances for that.
But if we make some allowances for people coming home, if the message isn't very clear as to, I mean, the Taoiseach last week said don't book flights yet. If the advice isn't very clear, won't people just say, well, it's okay for me to come home?
Well, I don't know. I think people are more thoughtful than that. And I mean, I know everybody wants to come home. I family living away. They're not coming home this Christmas. And we are no different to any other Irish family. We all meet up at Christmas time. So they have decided now, in any event, not to travel. Other people will be weighing things up. There's no proposal from the government to shut down the airports or the ports because people are still coming onto the island. That has been the case, albeit in reduced numbers. So I don't hear the government talking about a legal ban on travelling. But what they seem to be saying is that the advice will be very strongly not to travel.
Would you support that advice if that's what the advice is?
Look, whatever the public health advice is, we have to support. I mean, at the end of the day, the bottom line here is that we need to keep people well and we need to save lives. But I have said this and I want to repeat it. If the advice is that they are advising people not to travel, I do think that has to have an additional piece which says to people who have lost loved ones in the course of the year, who have very elderly, perhaps parents or family members, or who have a trauma or a sickness in their family, I think on the basis of compassion and just decency, I think people in those circumstances have to know that if they have to get home, that will be regarded as essential travel.
We've seen over the last couple of days how, for example, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Tony Holohan, yesterday saying that we have 2 weeks to get this right in terms of the worrying level of COVID-19 statistics over the last couple of days. Are you concerned about where we might be on the 1st of December and what's likely to be the restrictions for the month?
I am. I think we're all concerned about that, and I think that it's probably worth saying again that for us to get ahead of this virus, people need to follow now what is almost the mantra. I know it's almost like a chant that people hear around keeping your distance, washing your hands, wearing your mask. I think if we all do those things, if we exercise a bit of cop on and a bit of consideration for others, I think we can get those numbers down. By the way, the numbers have fallen significantly, but I think the concern amongst the medical professionals and the public health experts is that we've plateaued, that we're kind of coasting now at a level. The transmission rates need to come down another good distance for us to be sure that we can get back out and have the enjoyment and just the human contact that's so essential to a happy Christmas. By the way, I think we can get there. And can I also say, Adrian, people have been amazing and fantastic right across society, including our young people who have been unbelievably disciplined and who have listened to the advice and who have abided by it. I don't believe in this business of pointing fingers and vilifying people. People are doing their very, very best in very difficult circumstances, but we just need to dig that little bit deeper now for the next couple of weeks.
We saw over the weekend social media posts of people drinking on streets in Dublin, in Cork, and then the reaction of government yesterday was to initially suggest that there might be a ban on the sale of takeaway pints, and now it's going to be the issuing of fines. Is all this pointless?
Well, I think it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, to be honest with you, Adrian. I think that, well, I know that there are already measures that the Gardaí can take, including, to my mind, the most common sense measure. If you observe people, engaging in what might be considered risky behaviour, to go and talk to them and put them on the right track, and to do it in a way that is civil and respectful of the fact that many of these restrictions are very difficult. And by the way, I mean, for every one kind of dramatic scene that you will see on social media, the reality is that in countless communities right across the island, that's not happening. And as I understand, on South Ann Street, the Gardaí did attend. The way I hear it, they say they didn't see any regulations being broken. I can't explain that to you. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. What I do know is that if it's going to be a business of issuing fines for people drinking pints on the streets, well then what do we do about everybody who's meeting up and drinking coffees? I think there needs to be a little bit of common sense here. I think our better course of action, instead of taking out the big stick and talking about fines, is just to speak to people's common sense and their sense of decency. And I think the vast, vast, vast majority of people, as I said earlier, in difficult circumstances want to do the right thing. So I think the government knee-jerked on this. From what I hear, Adrian, they've kind of rode back from that position. But let's see what they have to say in the course of today.
All right, and just finally, looking forward to December, and you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we can get the case numbers down in the next 2 weeks. If it's a case that come the start of December, the case numbers are still around the 400 mark, that won't see us releasing restrictions much lower than level 3. And that will put us in a situation where most likely the north will be very open, certainly based on what happened up there last week, and down here could be much more restricted. Is that workable?
No, it's not. It's crazy. And what we saw in the north was a real battle of wills on the executive between the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party, and the other parties. And the story isn't over in the north. The numbers are still quite high, and it's still a very concerning situation. The truth is, Adrian, that for any strategy to work, it needs to be island-wide.
We know that it hasn't been.
Yeah, no, I absolutely accept it hasn't been, and I've been raising this consistently from day one, moment one of day one of this crisis, and I've said to successive Taoiseach, now to Leo Varadkar when he was Taoiseach, to Micheál Martin now that he's Taoiseach, that I believe there needs to be a much more energetic and determined approach from the government here in Dublin to ensure that we get an island-wide approach. I also think the executive, by the way, in Belfast, that all parties, including the DUP, need to, get our act together, and we need to fashion this all-island approach. Because here's the truth: if we have this virus anywhere on the island, that is a threat to all of us. This is a small landmass. We live on a small island. This isn't Australia or some vast territory. We live on a small island. For the purposes of public health, we're a single population. Leave the politics out of it. And the reality is, to keep any of us safe, we have to keep all of us safe. And unfortunately, that route has not been pursued in the way that it needs to be. So it's certainly something we have pushed for, and we will continue to push for that here in the south, but also in the north.
All right, finally, Mary Lou, 2 weeks out from the theoretical lifting of level 5 restrictions, are you optimistic about December and about Christmas?
I'm always optimistic about Christmas. I think come what may, people need Christmas this year in the Christmas cheer. Actually, I was out doing my shopping at the weekend in my local supermarket, and I think Chris Rea, driving home for Christmas, is saying, now ordinarily, Adrian, I would go nuts if I heard Christmas, Christmas music or any of the Christmas stuff in November. But this year, I have to tell you, it lifted my heart, and I just felt that surge of familiarity and optimism. And Christmas has to be a time of joy and support and solidarity for all of us. So as a community, and no better people than the Irish to look out for our neighbours, to look out for older citizens, to look out for people who are struggling a bit, who may not be at work. I mean, bear in mind, there's people living in our city and across the state who haven't been at work since March. And things are going to be tight and things are going to be tough. So we're going to have to look out for each other. I really, really hope that we can manage to get the numbers down sufficiently over the next couple of weeks. I really hope that is the case. I remain optimistic that we can, because I happen to believe that as Dubliners and as Irish people, men and women, when we put our minds to something, there's nothing that we can't do. That's my approach to the next number of weeks.
On that optimistic note, Sinn Féin President Mary Lou McDonald, thanks very much indeed for talking to us on 98 FM.
Thank you, Adrian.
And I would like to hear from you on 6797981. You can text, you can WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. And I want to focus in on Christmas and whether or not you've maybe changed your opinion to people coming home for Christmas. Have you family abroad? What are they planning to do? Are they going to stay put where they are? Or are they planning to come home for Christmas anyhow? For example, this is a message that I got from Claire.
About students, Adrian. My daughter's friend is studying in the UK, and she has the month of December off and about 2 weeks off in January. Like, she's 18. Do they honestly expect her to stay over in campus in the UK with no Christmas things, everywhere's going to be closed? What do they expect to do? Sit in a room for 6 weeks alone? I don't think so.
All right. I'd like to hear from you on 6797981. I'd also like to hear from you if you are living here in Ireland and maybe from Eastern Europe. Maybe you're from Poland or Lithuania or whatever. Are you going to go home for Christmas? Because maybe you normally would, or are you giving it a miss for this year? Call us right now on 6797981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 98. It's almost 11 o'clock across Dublin. Good morning. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And this is Laura with Tuesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning. Dublin City Councillors have voted down a proposal to sell public land to private developers. An emergency motion to block the sale of a site at Oscar Traynor Road worth €44 million was opposed by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in a vote last night. The property developer would have paid the city €14 million, built 197 affordable homes and given the state more than 250 social homes. The government is considering introducing fines for people who gather to drink alcohol outside. Senior ministers are meeting this morning to consider the measure. It's after footage emerged on social media of large groups of people drinking on the streets over the weekend. An investigation has been launched after 32 dogs worth more than €150,000 were seized in Baldoyle. Gardaí found the animals yesterday during a search targeting illegal puppy farms. Chihuahuas, Jack Russells and pugs were seized along with 4 horses. And more than half of people say they'll have their Christmas decorations up by the end of this month. And research by One for All shows over 2/3 plan to have all of their Christmas shopping done by the end of November. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And good morning from Adrian Kennedy. So there's a lot of uncertainty around at the minute with regard to Christmas 2020 and what it might look like. We've been told, for example, the figures of COVID-19 aren't coming down quick enough. They're still, they did drop dramatically and then kind of plateaued and we're not going as fast as we were. So that throws up a load of uncertainty. And we want to find out, what is your plan with all that uncertainty? And we remember last week the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar saying now is not the time to be booking flights home. You get the feeling that the government would prefer if nobody came into Ireland over the Christmas period, for fear that they might import the virus back into the country again, and then we're back to square one again. So I want to hear from you on 6797 981. What is your plan for Christmas 2020 with regard to either going away or family members coming home? Have you changed your plans? Have you decided, look, we'll just leave it for this year? It's only one Christmas. Hopefully by next Christmas we'll all be back to normal. That's the theory anyway. Call me right now on 6797 981. Now, Shannon, you live in England, is that right?
Yeah, morning. How are you?
Good morning, Shannon. How are you? And there's a particular reason you've decided not to come over at Christmas.
Yeah, so I am due in 3 weeks' time, and I would come. I only moved here a year ago, so I would love to go home. It's horrific knowing that I have to stay here for Christmas from what I'm used to.
Okay, so when you moved over, just before last Christmas, did you?
I moved over at the end of October, early November.
Okay, and how was everything going for you before all this started?
Yeah, Grant, I'd fly home every 2 weeks.
Right.
So, it's been horrific not being able to go home. I was lucky in August, I flew home for 3 weeks. And I done the 2 weeks quarantine and seeing family and stuff like that while pregnant, because I didn't think they'd see me with a bump in person. So, I did that, and that was it then. And then I was planning to try to come home and have the baby there, but it was just all very messy. So I said, better off staying and then trying to get home for January.
Right. And have you much family and friends over there?
No, I have no family over here. It's just my partner and his family.
Oh, right, okay. So you really would love to be able to come home, but because you'll have a new baby, you've decided to leave it until the new year.
Yeah, and I'll definitely, I'll be booking that boat as soon as I'm out of that delivery ward. Be on the way.
It must be... I was talking to a friend of mine who lives abroad as well a couple of days ago, and he had flights booked to come home for Christmas. Those flights were cancelled just the other day, and he described it as a sense of almost powerlessness, that he always took it for granted that he comes home for Christmas, and this year flights cancelled and he feels kind of powerless or isolated. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, it's horrific. You just feel so abandoned nearly, that you can't go home and see anybody, especially because it's your family. Do you know what I mean? You have their family, but you want your own.
Yeah.
Do you know, you want to be with your own familiarities, and over here it's very different, Christmas and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do celebrate a little bit different to us. Yeah,
that's unusual.
So you're due in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations in advance, and I hope everything goes well for you. And I'm sure the family will be dying to see the new baby come the new year.
I know, please God.
Yeah.
Everything goes well, and I'll get home.
Well, keep my fingers crossed for you. Thanks very much indeed, Shannon. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text, you can WhatsApp, or you can send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98, like Gary just did.
Come on, lads. I have a sister coming home, hopefully coming home from London. But when you look at the headlines in the Independent this morning, They said we have 2 weeks to save Christmas. Then I heard on another station that the street traders are going to be allowed back on Henry Street, which is good because I think it's part of Christmas. But nobody knows what's going on. There's too many stories in the media, so we're going to wait till the 1st of December and see what happens. Maybe go back to level 2. Please God, we'll have her and our family home for Christmas. But God, it's real up in the air. It really is. But love the show, boys.
And actually, Gary mentioned something that I forgot to mention earlier on, because we did cover the story last week. He mentioned about the street traders. Now, that's not to say they are definitely coming back, but Dublin City councillors have supported a motion to find ways for Henry Street traders to work as normal this year. Councillors voted to support a solution that may allow Henry Street traders to operate in some form of market for Christmas. So we'll keep an eye on that story over the next couple of weeks. But councillors giving the traders their support. Now, Stephen, your wife is German, is that right?
It is. She is indeed, yeah.
And would love to be going home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Was that the original plan?
Yeah, we usually do one Christmas in Ireland and then one Christmas with her family then in Germany. And we had it already all arranged. The flights were supposed to be booked. It's supposed to be cancelled, and then it was back again, and now it's back again. So yeah, it's been up and down. So we're trying our very best to get going this year. But my family are just giving me major stick over the whole thing about me leaving.
In what way? What are they saying?
They're not being very supportive. Like she hasn't seen her family in about 15 months, and I would just love nothing more for her to be older. And my parents are just basically saying to me, "You don't bring it back, the virus and all this." And I don't know what to do. Like, to be honest, it's looking like I could be just sending her on her own.
Oh, right, okay.
And I'd stay here, and that means I'd be away from my wife for the whole Christmas, and I don't know what's going to happen.
That is very difficult. And in terms of, they're giving you a stick that if you, I mean, I heard somebody describe somebody who was going on a holiday as selfish. That's more or less the attitude you've been getting, is it?
Pretty enough, yeah. It's just like they're saying that I should just stay here and let her go, and I just think it's very hurtful because I just don't. We're all family altogether, like, and I would love no more to go over and see her family as well.
But in terms of isolating and all that, would she be able to go over, see her family, and then come home and lock herself in a bedroom for 2 weeks?
Yeah, see, the situation is, because I'm a bus driver myself, and if I come back, my boss is not going to be too happy. Me have to take another 2 more weeks off because he's very busy at the moment.
Yeah.
But she can work from home, so she's all good with that.
So it is possible for her to do that?
It's possible for her to go, yeah.
But not for you?
It's looking more for, not for me, no.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? I mean, you've only a couple of weeks to decide.
I'm not sure. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know. I think my wife's saying that we should be both selfish in a way and just go. But I'm not sure what to do.
Others would say, and I know you said your wife hasn't seen her family in 15 months. I'm sure she has seen them, just not in person.
No, just on video calls.
But a lot of people would say, just leave her for this year. It's just 1 year, and hopefully by March, April, May, you'll be able to go over to Germany and come back.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at, because we're hoping to go back there hopefully next year.
All right, well look, I wish you well, Stephen. Thanks very much indeed. We'd like to hear from you. I'm just trying to find out where people's heads are at with regard to family coming home from abroad or going abroad over the Christmas period. If you're from another country living in Ireland, and maybe you haven't, like that lady, hasn't seen her family in 15 months. Sandra, you're on 98 FM. Hi, you, Sandra.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Now, your son can't come home for Christmas, but your niece can. How is that?
No, my son can't come home from Canada because of everything that's going on. And with work, and we had a virus here, so we understand how serious and how sick that you do get from it. So I am the real Irish man that would love to have all my family here, but I understand because really how bad and horrendous it can be on your health. But I was listening to Mary Lou there, and I just think it's very unfair. My niece was able to go up to the north on the weekend and do our shopping. And there was no stopping at borders. There was things they got just waved on. She said all the shops were open up there. I just think it's very unfair here. I think it's all wrong. I mean, our sons and daughters and family can't come home working away everywhere and anywhere. And in there, you can go up the north, which it's very high, the virus. You're coming back down, you're mixing. She's mixing her mum and dad with everybody. It just doesn't make sense.
No,
I think it's really, really wrong.
And it's always been a very difficult one, the north. We know that the virus cases up north are much higher than they are down here. But you know, and I know, Sandra, if they were to shut the border down, there'd be uproar. There would be absolute uproar. That's the problem.
I know
that we have.
And I don't know how they're going to do it, but there must be. There has to be now that, I mean, literally the way we are just, as you know, we were just getting crucified here, like we're shopping businesses, people sick and stuff, and then you can just go, get in your car and
drive up to Newry. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and you're not even getting stopped, or you're not even getting to, like, the police. Nobody's fault down to the government, but the police just waved it on, and it doesn't make sense, but. Like that, it's just when I heard this morning, I heard Mary Lou, I was like, you know what, it's just so unfair, but it's wrong. I mean, it's because it's so lethal. I mean, I couldn't believe I've heard people getting this virus and saying, oh my God, everybody was telling me it's like a flu. It's not like a flu. It's really, really bad. It didn't affect my daughter the way it affected me. I totally understand my son and two of his friends now that they're not coming home now until April, if they can. But because of how bad that and how sick that you can feel, I can understand, and we've come to terms with it. But then when you can get in a car and just go up the north.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense that you can drive up the north without anybody stopping you, where the virus is very high, and yet if you're, as you heard from that message I played a couple of minutes ago, if you're in college in England and you face 6 weeks on your own over there or come over here, you still have to isolate when you come over from England, which really doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. And then you're going up shopping there, coming back and mixing with everybody and anybody, and it just doesn't make sense. There has to be something more done. I hope somebody is listening that will be more like, I don't know how to put more people on if it's only an emergency. But I mean, it's...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think... I think what Mary Lou was talking about is, you know, people need to be treated with compassion, and if you have to come home for a particularly compassionate reason, then it should be allowed. But if it's non-essential, if you don't really have to come home, well, then don't come home, I think, is the message. Let's have a listen to this from Robbie.
How are you, Adrian? For people who moved out of this country in the last recession to places like Canada and Australia and America and all like that, the only time they actually get to see their families is at Christmas time. That's the only time they get to come home all year round. And you have this plonk of Varadkar coming out and telling people, no, nobody is to travel into the country at Christmas time. You mark my words, I guarantee you he's going to be travelling at Christmas time. And so will Micheál Martin, and so will all the rest of the gobshites in the doll. Absolutely ridiculous to tell people do not come home at the one time of the year that means the most to them.
I can't see Micheál and Leo hopping on a plane and going off to the Caribbean for Christmas, to be honest with you. We were talking about people going up the north doing their shopping. Joe sent me this.
Is that woman for real? You can't just get in your car and drive up the north. There's a 5-kilometre radius limit, and you're not supposed to cross county borders unless it is necessary travel.
Joe, that may be the fact, and you're right to say that there is a 5k travel limit. But I can tell you, because I was talking to somebody up the north the other day, the amount of southern cars up the north is unreal. So people aren't paying attention to it. They're going anyway. Where am I going now? Dara, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You plan to bring your daughter to see her dad in the Netherlands over Christmas?
Yes. I'm going to go over the week before Christmas and come back here just before, around the 23rd. I just think it's so important for her to see him. She's at the age where she's always asking, and I think...
What age is she?
She's 3 years old.
Oh, she's 3?
Yeah.
Right.
And we've only moved back from the Netherlands back to Ireland about 5 months ago. So, she needs kind of regular contact. So I think it would be far worse if I didn't bring her and, she didn't get to see him at Christmas time. I think it would be way worse than going over.
Okay.
But I don't really see the issue.
Well, one of the issues is you have to lock yourself in a room for 2 weeks when you come back.
Yeah, but for me, I work from home. She's home with me when I'm working. So,
but you said that you'll be coming home on the 23rd of December.
Yes.
And then locking yourself away for 2 weeks and not seeing anybody.
Well, the people I live with will be having Christmas together. So I think it'll be fine. We're both in a position where we work from home.
No. But the issue is, if you travel to somewhere like the Netherlands, which has a very high rate of the virus, by the way, and then come back to Ireland, you were meant to isolate yourself away from everybody else. It doesn't sound like that's what you're planning to do.
Yes, but the household that I live with, we're going together. So, yeah, we'll be isolating together, and, yeah, having Christmas.
So how many of you will be going over to the Netherlands?
4.
4, and 4 will be coming back, going to your house and staying there for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
With no visitors?
No, that's what we do anyway,
And is it worth all that hassle for... no disrespect to your daughter, but she is only 3.
I think it is. I think that it's so unpredictable what's going to happen over the next few weeks, months. I think it's going to be a series of lockdowns, and I think if you're just responsible and you can make the trips responsibly, I don't see why not. I think it'd be far worse for people's mental health, especially kids, if they don't see their fathers or, any family members for a couple of months. I think that's far more damaging than having to isolate when you come back from a trip.
All right. So what date are you going?
Probably around the 18th.
The 18th for 4 or 5 days, then coming home and locking yourselves away for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. Where am I going now? Let's have a listen to this from Robbie.
How are you, Adrian? For people who moved out of this country...
Oh, sorry, didn't I play that? I did play that. Connor.
Adrian, with regard to Christmas, I think it all comes down to people personally, and I think they look at their own situation as different from everybody else because it's them that's involved. There's a lot of people that'll just say, sure, my daughter coming home's not going to make much of a difference to the whole outcome of everything. But if everybody has the same attitude, it's going to be, it's just going to escalate things. Now, the only thing I would say about that is we are going to be back to square one, regardless if people are travelling home for Christmas, because we're going to be gathering probably a little bit more than we would have anyway. Just the nature of Christmas and the way we celebrate it. But it's just going to speed it up. People are going to have the same. It's like people that don't vote. They're like, I'm not going to vote because, am I really going to have an impact by putting my vote forward? It's not really going to make much of a difference. That's the way people are going to look at this whole situation with regard to getting their family home and that, So, yeah.
All right, Connor, thank you. Adrian says this message. Just because people are crossing the border going up north, it doesn't make it right. They're not supposed to. The question I always ask is, if you brought a virus home from doing something that you shouldn't be doing or is recommended against and give it to somebody else, who dies and how do you feel? Sorry, you give it to somebody else who dies. How would you feel? We need to be following the recommendations. Yeah, we do. But a lot of people aren't. Where am I going now? I'm going to Gavin. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Gavin?
Hello, Adrian.
Now, Gavin, what did you want to say on this?
Well, it's just to reiterate what they were saying about this. There's a kind of a selfishness here, but I was talking to your the chap that forced him. It's about the nurses and the doctors that they're in the UK, and a lot of them, the Irish nurses, they can't come back home because they're working in an environment where basically, they don't want to be coming back and giving it to to their families, and it's like no one's asking the question. It's like everyone's talking about Christmas and talking about how it affects them, but no one's thinking, should they deserve a Christmas? Because it seems that as long as they're stuck in the hospital dealing with all the problems, we can get on with a normal Christmas and go back to, selling stuff on the streets and going back to some kind of normal Christmas. Well,
So what's the point you're trying to make? That we need to just basically sacrifice this Christmas if it means not travelling? Yeah.
Yeah, because the statistics I put out on a text message was that the UK had more deaths this weekend, 1,935 or 37, than Ireland has altogether in the weekend.
Yeah, but now they do have like 10 times the population as well. But
yeah, but we'll have the 10 times the influx of people on a Christmas every year. It's just it's bonkers. Because if you look at last Christmas when it was starting to come in, people were just coming left, right, and centre.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, regardless of your circumstances, unless it's some really severe reason for having to come home, just don't travel this Christmas. That's really what you're saying.
Basically, yeah. Not for just yourself, but for other people who have to deal with the problems that you bring in. Like, you can bring it in and nothing happens yet, but if someone else gets it, someone has to deal with it. Like people in the front line. It's not just the nurses and doctors, the guards. They have to deal with parties and such and everything. And it just seems that everyone wants a normal Christmas as long as other people are dealing with it. So out of mind.
Yeah, all right. No, I take the point. We were talking to a lady who's planning to go to the Netherlands for a couple of days with her 3-year-old to see the 3-year-old's daddy. This message came in.
Hi Adrian, just in regards to that girl there, if she's going over on the 18th and coming back on the 23rd, that's not 2 weeks isolation over there either. So she could potentially give everybody the virus on the plane on the way home. How's that okay? That's not okay. That's selfish.
Well, you heard her reasons. She feels it's important for her 3-year-old to see her daddy on or about Christmas time. This message from Stacey. Yes, I went up north to get my daughter's braces tightened and was not stopped. And yes, I went to Penny's and Smith's while I was up there. Says Stacey. You're not the only one, Stacey. Like I said, I was talking to a friend of mine up north, and the amount of southern cars in the north hasn't really changed that dramatically. Pauline, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Pauline.
Hi Adrian, how are you?
Good, thank you. What did you want to say on this?
I was just saying I rang in there just so you know that I have a son who lives up in the north. He lives in Banbridge with his partner and 2 children, and he works in Dublin, so he's coming down to Dublin every morning in the traffic and going back every evening at 6 in the evening, and he can't come and visit me. And Christmas, as far as Christmas is concerned, we're already cancelling the same. We can't see done over the Christmas, which I think is a joke.
So he lives up in Banbridge. Yeah. He's down to Dublin every day, commuting up and down to Banbridge for work.
Yeah.
And he can't go and see his mammy.
No.
Yeah, it does seem a bit bizarre, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it's the kids even. I haven't even seen, like, the grandson is only a year old, and I've probably even seen him a handful of times. Ever since he was born. We're not seeing anybody because we're sticking by the rules, because I work in a hospital here myself, so I'm saying I can't see him. And as far as Christmas is concerned, we can't see each other. We're saying that we won't see each other this year. But yeah, they expect him to come in here to work every day.
That is awful, yeah. So your son is in Dublin every day and you can't even see him?
Yeah, he works over near the airport.
Could you not meet him even for a coffee?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, that's awful.
And as far as Christmas is concerned, I'd love to have them down. They were here last Christmas. But as far as this Christmas is concerned, he did say, would we go up to him? But I said, I can't go up because if I get the virus, walk in the hospital, I'd be in huge trouble for that. Unless we can go.
All right, that is a difficult one. Do you think people should just sacrifice coming home this Christmas for everyone's sake?
I do, Adrian. I do and I don't. I mean, I think if people are careful and do what they have to do and isolate and do everything, well, then they should do it. Do you know what I mean? But I think for people just, like the likes in town on Saturday night, that's what's holding us all back. Everybody needs to work together. As they said at the beginning, we're all in this together.
But it's interesting just talking to people over the last week or two. I do get the sense that people are just fed up.
I know. I'm fed up myself, Adrian. I mean, I'd probably do more Christmas Day now.
Yeah, fed up, but still want to get through the whole thing. I'm from Latvia. Thanks, Pauline. I'm from Latvia, says this message, and was supposed to go there for Christmas. Haven't been there on Christmas for 15 years, but had to cancel our travel plans, says Edgar. One last call from Tanya. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Tanya?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Tanya, your point is about the shops and the fact that they shouldn't be closed.
Yeah, I don't think they should be closed because now when they open back up, it's going to cause major crowds going in. Whereas if they had been instead open, people could have just went about it normally. Now it's going to be
so come the 1st of December when the shops open, it's going to be pandemonium.
Yeah, because some people had the luxury of having the money there to go out and get the things in, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of people are out of work or they've lost their business because of this.
It is very difficult for them. So you think that no, interestingly, we were talking about the north a second ago. Interestingly, up the north, the shops haven't closed, even though they have restrictions. Bars and restaurants and all are closed, but the shops haven't closed. So that's why a lot of cars are just travelling up the north to do a bit of shopping, which seems really bizarre.
Yeah, and as well, that, like what you're saying, it's causing people then from going to one place to another where they wouldn't have to do that if their shops was open. Yep. And I feel like it's kind of like that with the pubs. If they left the pubs open, people would be made to follow the restrictions in the pubs. But now it's turning into more house parties.
Yeah, or street parties.
Was open, yeah, they would have been forced to keep distance and be more safe.
All right, let me just squeeze in one or two more messages. This is Stephen.
Already missed Paddy's Day, Easter, birthdays, 21st, 50s, weddings, funerals. So what I'm going to do is just double up on everything next year. Paddy's Day, I'll have Paddy's Day after. Easter, I'll have Easter after. 4 weeks and holidays, 2 Christmases, 2 birthdays, 2 of everything next year.
Thank you, Stephen. And final message from Adriano, and he says, I'm from Brazil and I have not seen my parents for 3 years. They are over 75 years old, so it's very difficult to think. I'm not sure when I will be able to come and see them. I would love to be able to spend Christmas with them. All right, thanks very much indeed for all of your messages. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. This is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Did you see that story? And you would have heard it in our news bulletin earlier on about an investigation has been launched after Gardaí seized 32 dogs and 4 horses in the Baldoyle area of North Dublin yesterday. They seized the animals as part of an ongoing investigation into puppy farms and related criminal activity. Chihuahuas, Jack Russells and pugs were seized, with 6 of the dogs found to be pregnant, with a potential value of about 150 grand. But here's a question for you, and you might help me with this. If you want to get a dog, where do you get a dog? Because I know, for example, one of my colleagues here, in their family home, they're desperate to get a dog and they can't get one anywhere. So this is why some people have resorted to buying them off people where the dogs undoubtedly have come from some sort of a puppy farm. We're going to be finding out from Dogs Trust what you should do if you want to get a dog. Or maybe you've gotten one over the last couple of weeks or months. Where did you get the dog from? Call me now on 6797 981, text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98.
The sound of the city, from Clondalkin to Clontarf. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
If you're a regular listener to this programme, you will know I love our dogs. We have 2 dogs, Sparky and Molly, and I love them to bits, and they've kept me sane over the last 9 months, taking them for walks and just a bit of company, all of that. So with that in mind, yesterday on the programme we were talking about Christmas ads and the sorts of Christmas ads that have gotten to you. And a couple of people actually messaged us yesterday about the new ad that Dogs Trust launched recently. And it's all about knowing where you're getting your dog from. I don't know if you've seen the ad, but it's another tearjerker. Here's what it sounds like.
'Twas the run-up to Christmas, and all through the mill, despite all the kennels, everything was still. They sat in the darkness, just a crack of light, too afraid to bark, no person in sight. Their welfare's forgotten, lo and behold, just a commodity, born to be sold. These dogs have one purpose, it's sad but it's true. They're there to make puppies, just for you. A nation of dog lovers that you'd never know. Be careful when buying, it's often a show. And have you ever thought,
what happens to Mum now that all her puppies have gone?
She must go through it all, again and again, churning out puppies from her little pen.
Now, if you haven't seen that ad, you want to see it. It's on Dogs Trust website. It's been on the television. It's been shared on social media and all of that. And it's basically asking people to think twice before you buy a dog and ask questions about where this dog has come from. There's a huge market here in Ireland for dogs, because we are a nation of dog lovers, although, as the ad says, you'd never know. So I want to find out from you, if you've gotten a dog in the last few months, where did you get the dog from? And how do you know it didn't come from a puppy farm? Call me right now on 6797 981 or send me a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. I'm joined on the line by Karina Fitzsimons from Dogs Trust to find out a little bit more about the way in which we can buy a dog safely, knowing that it hasn't come from a puppy farm. Let me ask Karina, firstly, what was the motivation behind the advert?
Well, I suppose people wouldn't dream of buying a dog from a puppy farm, but the reality is that people do unsuspectingly, because puppy farmers go to extreme lengths to hide the true environment where their puppies originate. So we thought by showing this ad that people would stop and think, because in the ad you see the facade of the nice man and the little cottage, but if you look at it closely, there's a barn in the background, and that's where all the puppies, or you'll hear it, and that's where all the puppies are kept. We want to stop this because new laws came out in February, and we are asking the Irish government to enforce these laws, and they surround the sale of pets, so puppy farmers have nowhere to hide. Because some unscrupulous breeders, they hide behind websites and social media and classifieds, and they just churn out puppies for profit, creating the pretense that the puppies have been reared in a family home, and nothing could be further removed from the truth. And as much as we'd love people to adopt a dog, we realise that people are going to buy dogs, and they should be able to do it safely. It's 2020, and if someone advertises a dog and says, this dog has been raised in my house, we love this dog, that should be the truth, because you can buy a car, safely. You get a logbook, you can check its history, but you can't do that with a dog. But if these laws are enforced, people should be able to do that. And the laws basically state that the age of the dog, the puppies have to be over 8 weeks of age to be sold, and the microchip number of the dog must be on the ad. So basically, if that's done properly, people will always be able to know who they're buying the dog from, and the seller will be traceable.
Okay, so the message is, firstly, don't buy a dog that hasn't already been microchipped. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the law. All puppies need to be microchipped before they're sold. And the unique microchip number ensures that the traceability of the dog and the person who's selling it. And if the seller or supplier is a dog breeding establishment, so a dog breeding establishment is somebody who has over 6 females capable of breeding. If they have that, they have to display their DBE number. And that means that you as a buyer can then go and check how many female dogs does this person have? And then you can make the decision, do I want to buy a dog from someone who has 300 other dogs, or do I want to buy a dog from someone who I know has raised a family pet? And that's the main takeaway. So what we say is, if you were considering buying a dog, to please go. The only place we would recommend is petbond.ie, and a team of vets, they check all the sellers and ensure that they're not from large-scale dog breeding establishments, or they're not from illegal puppy farms.
Okay, so what are we buying into when we get a dog from one of these puppy farms? I mean, surely the whole idea, if you take a dog, is to give the dog a loving home, really, is it?
And see, therein lies the problem, because our human instinct, if you see a small, sad puppy who doesn't look the best, your natural instinct, people say walk away, but it's too late. Once you have left your house to buy a puppy, you are not going to come back without that puppy. So what we're saying is, if you get a puppy from a puppy farm, you may think, oh, I'm rescuing that puppy, I'm taking away from a bad place, I'm going to give that dog a great life. And you may do that. But some dogs develop behavioural issues, they have health issues because they're bred for what they look like rather than what's happening on the inside. But also as well, this is the point of the TV ad, is what happens to the mum. She has to go through it again and again, turning out puppies from her little pen. And that's the problem. It's the mum that's left behind. And the more puppies that they sell, the more mums that are left behind. And their life just literally revolves around breeding puppies. They don't have a life in a house where they go out for walks or they're loved or they get affection. And we don't want people to buy into that, because we know when people want to get a dog, they want to give a dog love. They don't want to be creating this situation or fueling this vile trade, because people love dogs. But all we're saying is, please, before you go and click or you buy a dog off the internet or any of the social media channels, it's just to please have a think about what you could be contributing to. And as you may have seen in the news, there was a seizure yesterday of a number of dogs being kept illegally. And that's what you could be, contributing to. And it's like, who's behind this? Is there any criminal activity involved? Is there money laundering? And then another thing is, if you pay cash for a dog, why is the person wanting to make the transaction untraceable? We've so many ways of paying people now with the internet and different cards and all these different types of things. You have to question why do they want you to pay cash? So that's something else to think about as well.
All right, so you mentioned that seizure yesterday, 32 dogs and 4 horses in the Baldoyle area of Dublin. It's part of an ongoing Garda investigation into puppy farms. So in terms of, okay, for example, I have a colleague here who's desperate to get a dog and has been looking everywhere to do it properly and is finding it very, very difficult. So what advice would you give to somebody who genuinely wants to take in a dog and wants to care for a dog?
What I say is, if you can at all, adopt a dog. Now, there is a bit of a wait at the moment, because we have been inundated with so many people wanting to adopt dogs because their circumstances have changed because of the COVID pandemic. So many people have found themselves at home, and some people may know that they're going to be working from home in the longer term. So therefore, there's many more people able to adopt or buy dogs in Ireland. So the demand has increased. But what we would say is, if you can wait a few months, please do, because people will return to work. We have already seen the number of dogs surrendered to us increase. And sadly, we've actually seen a number of dogs abandoned because of veterinary issues. So what we say is, if you really want to buy a dog, again, please go to petbond.ie, or else please wait a few months, apply to a rescue centre and just keep chasing them up and wait a few months, because you will eventually get a dog. The issue is, if you go and get a dog from somebody and they want to give you that dog immediately with no questions asked, or they want to give you the dog in the same day, that is a huge, huge red flag. Because if you're a reputable breeder, and there are reputable breeders out there, it will almost be like the Spanish Inquisition when you go to buy one of their puppies, because they care about the dog so much that they have raised those dogs with the mum, and they want to make sure they're going to a good home. So you should almost nearly be insulted leaving with the amount of questions they ask you. And you should be able to see the dog interacting with the mum and the other litter, or the other members of the litter. And that's another thing that happens when people buy from unscrupulous breeders. They'll ask to see the mum, and the mum is out getting groomed, or she's being walked, or another thing they do is they say, oh, I'll meet you, at a petrol station because my house is really hard to find. And when you get to the petrol station, you can follow my car up to my house. And then when they get to the petrol station, the person's there with the puppy, and they never get to see where the puppy came from. So that's, another huge
red flag to watch out for.
Yeah,
okay.
But the level that these people go to hide what's actually going on is unbelievable. So that's why we really want this law to be enforced, because they're so unscrupulous that the things that they do, the average person isn't going to spot this until either it's too late, or they may actually never know that they've bought from a puppy farm. And therein lies the problem.
All right. So once again, the website that you mentioned is petbond.ie, and just to read what it says on the site: designed and managed by vets. Meet your new lifelong best friend with peace of mind, and that's the key to this. That you know that any animal that you may get through this is after coming from a reputable source.
Yeah, and if anybody is listening that could sign our petition, please, it's dogstrust.ie, sold a pup, and we're calling on the government to enforce the new laws about the sale of dogs.
All right. So please be very, very careful if you are buying a dog over the next couple of weeks or months. Be certain about where it's coming from. And the message is that these dog breeders are pulling all sorts of strokes to make you think it's a genuine dog from a genuine home. All right. Very interesting. Karina Fitzsimons, PR and Communications Manager with Dogs Trust. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
And I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. If you've gotten a dog over the last couple of months, where did you get it? And what I'm really trying to find out is, where is this trade that these puppy farms are feeding? Who are buying these dogs? Like, for example, you heard all of the things that she said. You know, you never see the mother of the puppy. The mother is just spitting out babies constantly. I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. Paul sent me this.
Hi, Adrian. I hope you're okay. You know my believings: adopt, don't shop. Dogs, there are many in the likes of Dogs Trust who would love a forever loving home, and they are great dogs.
All right, we'll take a quick break. I actually have Paul on the line. I'll talk to him straight after the break.
The sound of the city, from Perrystown to Portmarnock. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
We're talking about where to get a dog, and maybe experiences that you may have had, or subsequently finding out that the dog that you have actually came from a puppy farm. It follows the story that Gardaí are investigating the seizure of 32 dogs and 4 horses in the Baldoyle area of Dublin. They were seized as part of an ongoing investigation into puppy farms and related criminal activity. And as I said, if you haven't seen the Dogs Trust ad yet, go onto their website or just look out for it. It really does. Okay, so the family take in this lovely dog, and then the kid asks, well, where's the mammy after the babies are gone? And the mammy realistically just sits there spitting out babies, constantly pregnant. Sarah, tell us about your sister's experience with a puppy farm.
Hi, Adrian. Yeah, so just now, I don't know the ins and outs of when they were looking up, the dog and that, but must have found this person online, and it ended up, it was a woman who met them. Basically said, sorry, you can't come up to the house. Either said somebody wasn't well or something. Now, this was going back about 7 years at this stage. Mm-hmm. Can't come back. And so they got there. It's a bit dubious. So they did say, can we see a picture of the mother? She flashed a Polaroid of a dog, said this was the mother, and took it back. Didn't let them keep it, nothing, just took it. So they don't even know if that was really the mother. So they got a teacup terrier. Mm-hmm. And all I would say is, if you see teacup in front of the name of a dog, do not buy the dog, because the dog is from a puppy farm. And I went into looking into this, and it's cruelty what they do to the mother to make these teacup dogs. Anyway, so they got the dog. She was a teeny weeny teacup terrier. She fit in the palm of your hand. Everybody's heart melted when she came home. Called her Minnie. She was lovely. I'd say within a week and a half, she started having health complications. And my sister tried everything. She brought her to the vet, and because the dog was so small, the vet wasn't used to seeing a dog like this. Mm. So anyway, complications arose. I'd say we had her about a month, and she died.
Oh,
and my sister was devastated. Yeah,
and do you believe that that's because of the way she was bred, and bred so small and not able to fend for herself, basically?
It was, yeah, because you could even see if you put her on, she was walking very slowly, and she'd get cold so quick that she would just go to the nearest person just to get heat, which I know a normal dog would do, but it was literally the case of she'd want to get up in your hand and curl, and she'd want you to cuddle her, and she was so, it was ridiculous how small she was. And what they just do to the mothers are, they don't even, the minute they go their first heat, they get them pregnant. They don't let them stay full term. So they make them have the puppies earlier than they should. So these babies and these little puppies are premature and then they're trying to sell them as healthy dogs where they probably already have health complications, and it's not fair on any of the dogs.
So one of the red flags, and this is one of the things that Karina Fitzsimons was saying to us, one of the red flags is if you meet the owner selling this dog and they're not in a position to show you the mammy dog or whatever, and you're meeting them at a petrol station and you're handing over cash, that's a major red flag, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. And I think there was some village somewhere, I can't even remember at this stage, and I was just like, oh, come meet me at a shop, because one, it was, oh, it's hard to find my house, plus the place is a mess, it'd be easier for me to do the trade here, which is, I'd say they paid cash. So I think it's just heartbreaking. And imagine like bringing a cute little dog home to your family, the children loving it, and the next thing it's not well and it's gone.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, the focus, and it's something I'd never thought of until I saw the Dogs Trust ad, was the mammies in these puppy farms just literally spitting out babies constantly. And I never even thought of that.
Yeah, and that's why I would think then that's why they keep them the way they do, and that's why you get little dogs, you get little cute ones, and they can constantly just, they go, oh, this dog is worth X amount, oh, we'll just keep doing this and we'll make a couple of grand off that one dog.
And that's what they're doing. I mean, the dogs seized yesterday were worth about 150 grand.
See, and that's crazy money. And I don't understand why they can do that. I just don't.
But these puppy farms only exist because people are buying the dogs.
Yeah. And like that now, I actually have a fear of dogs myself. And my partner now, when we have our own place, wants to get a dog. And I said, it'll have to be a puppy. And me and the puppy can grow together to understand each other. But like that, I wouldn't just go out and they're selling it on done deal. Oh, no, I'd like that. I'd go through the proper way, the breeders and stuff like that, because I want to know the dog has good temperaments and all, and you raised this dog. You know,
I just got a very worrying message in a second ago, and it says, I'm a dog groomer in Dublin, and almost every new customer I've had since the first lockdown has been a puppy farmed dog. All poodle crossbreeds like cockapoos, labradoodles, jackapoo, schnoodles, they've all different names now. Yeah. And the owners don't seem to care where their dog came from. They just want it now and don't want to wait, and really don't care about the poor mother of these pups. Most of these pups also have health and bad behaviour problems, which no pups should have. I myself have 2 rescue dogs and would never buy because I would never trust any of these breeders, says Rebecca. Thanks for your message, Rebecca. Dave, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Dave?
All right, Adrian.
Now, Dave, you rescued a dog, which is the ideal scenario if you could advise somebody. Unfortunately, a lot of the places that you can get rescue dogs from are just flat out at the minute.
That's it, yeah. No, we got our fella from a place in Tipperary called Mocara, and they're great because what they'll do is like they do home inspections, and like the onus is more put on the dog than it is on you. You know, like they're not finding a dog that suits you; they're finding people who suit the dog. You know, like it's the dog. Care and well-being is what's first and foremost.
And, in fact, and with Dogs Trust as well, the exact same thing. We went to Dogs Trust a couple of years ago, but they wouldn't let us have a dog because the dogs that they brought up to us, our dog didn't get on really well with. So that was the end of that. They are very strict. But you would recommend, if at all possible, to go to one of the rescues and get a dog from there. But they do look after the animals' welfare. Let me just squeeze in one final WhatsApp voice note from Sam.
Hey, it's Sam here. Sorry I couldn't get a call there, but I just wanted to share my story. I adopted a dog. Me and my partner did, from Dogs Trust in April this year during lockdown. He's a 7-year-old Border Collie, and I have to say it's probably the best thing that we ever did. He's a great dog. He has a few, he's just a bit clingy, but honestly, if I was to adopt a dog again, I'd definitely go back to Dogs Trust, but I definitely adopt. Even if they have loads of puppies there, loads of dogs from all sorts of ages, like honestly, I would definitely go back to Dogs Trust. It just kills me to see like puppies and like from puppy farms and the health issues they have down the line. So I would definitely adopt again. Like I don't see why people don't do it more often, do you know? Like.
All right, Sam, thanks very much indeed. Sorry if I couldn't cross you, but I'm unfortunately out of time. The message today is, if you are getting a dog, please think about where it might have come from. Because, okay, you might get a lovely little puppy, but its mammy is in some cage somewhere just spitting out babies, and that's what we need to stop. Anyway, thanks very much indeed. That's it from us for today. We're back again tomorrow morning at 10. And if there's anything you want to bring up in tomorrow's programme, send me an email right now to Dublin Talks at 98fm.com. Have a great Tuesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 10. Barry Dunn is on the way with some great music lined up in the next hour, like these.
When the crowd say ball, select. I'll be singing la 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 la.
98 FM.